I think we're so early because there's only 21 million Bitcoin for 8 billion people in the world. Right now, the amount of Bitcoin that if we equally distributed all of that Bitcoin with everybody in the world, the amount of Bitcoin that you would get is worth like $200. So if you think about it, the savings of everybody on average in the world is worth $200 in terms of Bitcoin right now.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today I'm here with Rajat from Toronto, one of my favorite Bitcoin educator. How you doing, man?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Super excited to have you here. In the comments down below, you guys will find Rajat's Twitter account and of course your YouTube channel. But before we dive into it, do you mind to give us an intro and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. I worked in finance for about 10 years. I worked in financial services. I worked in asset management. I came across Bitcoin around 2021. Well, I came across Bitcoin earlier, but I ignored it for a very long time. I finally came across Bitcoin in 2021 and took it seriously. I read the Bitcoin standard, and I feel like the world has just been different since then. Completely different. I feel like really shows you how broken money breaks the world. Broken money is a term from Lynn Alden.
There you
Oh, yeah,
go.
there you go. Broken money. Yeah, broken money literally ruins the entire world. Money touches pretty much everything. And keep in mind, even though I had this finance background, even though I did my chartered financial analyst designation, I hadn't thought of it this way. It was always assumed that the US dollar will survive forever. There's no competition. So that's where I'm coming from here. I have about 3 years just studying this thing, accumulating. I actually went through a pretty bad bear market, I guess. It dropped, what, 80%, 78% or something like that. I watched that happen. I had fun watching it. It was kind of stressful in the moment, but whatever. We got through it, right? And then I think those times, as a Bitcoiner, you learn that those times are the ones that build the most resilience. So.
Going through a bear market and a bull market forges you, right? You come out as a completely different person. So having the privilege to speak to other Bitcoiners like yourself, it's probably my favorite part of this journey I'm going to with my podcast. But why do you think we need Bitcoin?
I think we need Bitcoin because the world needs money that's not controlled by a central group of people. That's pretty much it. When money is supposed to be a way to represent value, to represent our time, our uh, basically what we are, our delayed gratification, and if a central party can control that time, that energy, that resource, then they can manipulate it. They can steal it from us. We give our finite time, our finite resources away to, let's say, an employer. They pay us with these dollars. At the same time, the US government, the Canadian government, wherever you're living, they can print that money and create it out of thin air and hand it over to you while you're giving away your finite resources for that money. So what we need is a form of money that's also finite, a form of money that can't be created at will. I know a lot of people have problems with this. They think, oh, wages are going to go down over time, but that's not the point here. The point here is to have a form of money that nobody else can take away from you. For example, I don't want to get political, but the US essentially told Russia to go screw themselves. They basically owed them, what, $300 billion. I'm not talking about what they did. I don't care about all that stuff. All that stuff is on the back end, but the money here is the point. The US should not have been able to take Russia's money. The US should not have been able to tell Russia to go screw themselves, and we don't owe you this money anymore. That's the only thing that can only happen with a form of money that's centrally controlled, and we need to get out of that situation.
On a philosophical level, I don't know if you agree with me, but it's like a trade. I have time and I'm getting something else in exchange. And it looks like we need something which is going to allow us to stop the madness, right? And do you follow the cycle, those 4 years Bitcoin cycle? Do you believe we have this kind of momentum for Bitcoin to go up and crashes down? Do you believe in the 4 year cycles?
I think the 4 year cycle is key because what it does is it wipes out any excess leverage. That's the main reason why the 4 year cycle, I think, is so important. It wipes out anyone who's overly confident and they're buying Bitcoin with debt. They're borrowing US dollars to buy Bitcoin because they want to increase their returns. I think the 4 year cycle is key to get rid of these bad actors, essentially. A lot of the bad actors, they build in Bitcoin and then they try to transfer that wealth into other cryptocurrencies. And then, like, let's say Luna, for example. Luna was built with good intentions, I guess, but it turned out to be it wasn't battle tested. It didn't work. It collapsed. But the creator wanted Bitcoin. he had something like I don't know, maybe a few $100 million worth of Bitcoin in his rear when he got arrested, which is very strange because why is he not holding his own coin? Why is he holding Bitcoin? That's what shows you that even the creators of a lot of these other coins, they probably don't want to. They want to accumulate Bitcoin. I think there was an article that said something like everybody wants your Bitcoin, everybody's a scammer or something like that. Essentially, they're talking about how everybody has these schemes. They're going to come up with ways to accumulate your Bitcoin, and I mean it makes sense, right? Because Bitcoin is money. Everybody wants optionality. Money gives you optionality. So let's say I were a producer for some good and I was really good at it. I can't just keep producing it and consuming it myself. I need to find other people who have money that I value and who want the product that I have. So my goal is to have as much Bitcoin as possible. And I do that by creating value. With the old financial system, again, just going back to the old financial system, governments have no create they don't create value. They don't do anything. They just redistribute resources. That's it. Governments can create money out of thin air. They're not creating value for us. They're essentially diluting the value that we have, that the value, the dollars that they've already created, the any currencies that they have already created. They're just diluting them and redistributing them to themselves. And we need to avoid a system like that. Again, the entrepreneurs who want your Bitcoin, they're doing it because they want to accumulate wealth. They want to save for the future. And they're doing it by creating value. Governments go ahead and steal from them. They increase their taxes. They're trying to create an unrealized capital gains tax. I think that's something that's going to happen all around the world. But that's essentially it. The current financial system is designed to steal from us. Bitcoin is designed to redistribute all of that wealth that's already been stolen.
Fascinating how many super amazing and interesting properties this asset offers. For me, like property, 100%. Like if there was a scale 1 to 10 of all the amazing things Bitcoin does, property would be by far my absolute favorite because as far as I know, it's the only thing I can truly own. Everything else is not mine. It's remotely far from mine. I mean, the bank doesn't even have my money. The bank doesn't even have money. The money is not even money. So it's all broken. I rather remember 12 words and take my entire net worth everywhere. So I can go swimming with nothing on and I can carry millions of dollars as opposed to having a safe somewhere which is owned by a corporation. They have guns and, you know, it's not accessible, or buried it like old school kind of Western movie and dig into some field. But then anyone with a metal detector will find it. So either way, it's not going to work in my favor. Is it too late, you think, to get into Bitcoin? What's your view here?
No, definitely not too late. See, the way that I think of it, most of the world still has no idea what's coming. Most of the world has no clue. Most people just see, they see that Bitcoin doesn't provide cash flows, so it's worthless. They see that Bitcoin doesn't have tax advantages like real estate, so it's worthless. They think that because it's not physical like gold, it's worthless. So I think we're so early. Most people have not understood the concepts. Most people don't understand the basics. They don't I mean, I keep in mind, I'm coming from, this is coming from the perspective of someone who really only recently started studying this thing. I only fully became, I guess, orange pilled in August 2023. That's when I really figured it out. Before that, I was just thinking, I'm going to accumulate stocks, I'm going to accumulate real estate, I'm going to accumulate Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't compete with all these other assets. I actually have podcasts where I've said that Bitcoin doesn't compete with other assets. Real estate has its utility, so real estate value will always go up. So Bitcoin is part of a balanced portfolio. I've said that in portfolio in podcasts before, but I don't agree with that anymore. I think we're so early because there's only 21 million Bitcoin for 8 billion people in the world. Right now, the amount of Bitcoin that if we equally distributed all of that Bitcoin with everybody in the world, the amount of Bitcoin that you would get is worth like $200. So if you think about it, the savings of everybody on average in the world is worth $200 in terms of Bitcoin right now. But in the future, I think it'll be worth $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for that small amount. And over time, it'll keep growing. It'll keep growing. It'll keep growing. So I don't think you're too late. People have started after me, and they accumulated more Bitcoin than I have. There are a lot of people who I've spoken to, people who have followed my content, people who have bought my webinars, for example, who went out and bought, let's say, 20 Bitcoin, right? 20 Bitcoin just on the spot because they have that cash. they've been saving for so long. They're so scared of the old financial system. They just left that money in a money market mutual fund, and now they finally realize that this is the way for the entire world to save. With stocks, not everybody can buy them. With real estate, not everybody can buy it. Prime real estate in the US, who has access to it? Not many people. A very, very small group of people has access to prime real estate. A very, very small group of people has access to even the Swift network. So much of the world is completely just kicked out of the global financial system because of it being centralized. So no, we're not too late to Bitcoin, not even close. I thought I was too late in 2021. Now I feel like I wish I had bought more back when I finally realized what this thing is in around 2023. You're always going to feel that way. I think in 10 years, $60,000 is going to be like, I wish I had bought more. I wish I had bought more. Why did I ignore it? Why did I think it was a Ponzi scheme? Why did I just feed my ego and just make myself believe that I'm always right and that I know everything? But I mean, you see that on Twitter. You see that on YouTube comments constantly. People just saying, "Oh, no, this thing is garbage. Warren Buffett knows what he's talking about. It's rat poison. It's this, it's that." But most of these people have done no research. So I mean, no, we're not early. We're going a lot further. Most financial professionals don't even understand Bitcoin yet, and they're usually the first ones to actually understand an asset. So we are. I think we're at the very beginning. The we're still. I think we're still in the early adopters or innovators phase.
Having the strength and the courage to say, I was wrong, it's everything. Because I was wrong in so many things in my life. And I also believe it's super early, by the way, super early. And the amount of people have told me in 11 years, you should have told me to buy. I have. I did. But the problem is, there is nothing you can do to make someone do an action. You can lead the horse to the river, but you cannot make the horse drink the water. Now they come back and say, you should have made me do it. It's like, no, but that doesn't. So now when people are saying, oh, Bitcoin is whatever it is now in 2024, in 10 years, like you said, people are going to cry their soul out because they didn't have the option to purchase this thing at $70,000, $80,000, because you can actually, shocker, buy Satoshis. So you don't have to have $70,000 or whatever the price will be when we publishing this. You can buy portion of this thing, which is another favorite property of mine. You can, divide the asset in multiple parts. And it's interesting talking to you because you're coming from traditional finance, right? So I'm sure you probably look at this like, what is this? Like, this is nothing I've encountered before.
In traditional finance, I think most people can't wrap their heads around the fact that something is not providing cash flow. For whatever reason, they don't get it. They just don't. And they'll argue to the death that this thing needs to provide cash flow, otherwise it's worthless. They will tell you that forever. I used to work on a bond desk. I was a bond analyst, fixed income analyst. Um, our life was just based on yield, right? We were always looking at yield. We were always looking at how much interest this bond pays, how much the yield is based on inflation, all that stuff. We were looking into that. We were trying to find out how quickly the investor can get their money back and all that stuff. But that it doesn't work like that with Bitcoin. Yield, I think the important thing to consider here is that yield is a forced liquidation of your asset. So let's say you have real estate. You receive yield because somebody is getting to take advantage of your property for a certain amount of time. In that time, the property is going to be depreciated. It's going to have wear and tear. It's going to lose some of its value. So you take the yield, you essentially take that yield, and the yield is in a way the time value of that property. Same thing with stocks. Let's say Apple, for example, Apple is giving out a 1% dividend or something like that. What if instead of giving a 1% dividend, they innovated and tried to make their iPhones better? They just spent that money on research and development. I know they probably have tons of money that they're spending on research and development already, but I'm saying, why would you give this money to people who are probably just going to use this money to, of course, consume in their lifetimes, right? In their own lifestyle. Why not just have people sell their stocks, give that ownership to someone else, and then they consume? But the system is designed, the entire financial system is designed to concentrate wealth with the wealthy. This is why we have asset-backed loans, we have real estate, we have mortgages. People can borrow money from themselves essentially 30 years into the future, and banks will facilitate these transactions, and they'll let you borrow that money. Back during the pandemic, it was at like what, 2%, 2.5%, like something like that. It doesn't even make any sense. Inflation rate is higher than that right now. So these people who are able to get these mortgages are at a huge advantage. They're basically renting their house for free. They're getting that money for, they're renting that money for free, not the house. They're renting that money for free essentially. And I think that's what breaks the entire system. It separates the rich from the poor. It creates that massive wealth gap. And keep in mind that my industry, the financial services industry, is designed to keep this wealth gap going. It's designed to keep the rich rich, to keep the poor poor. It's designed to make things as complicated as possible as a solution to the problem that was created by the financial services industry in the first place. So I don't think financial services people are going to figure it out for a long time unless they really, really put in the time. It's going to take a long time to actually wrap your head around the fact that US dollars can fail, and most legacy financial institution workers are not going to figure that out for a while. So
We decided collectively that gold is a store of value, but it could have been any other thing. Like if we all collectively agree that that thing is valuable, well, then that's all we need. We don't need anything else. Not even, it doesn't even have to be scarce, to be honest. It could be anything. It could be simply delicious, or it's so deep. So that's why sometimes it's fascinating when people say, "Oh, Bitcoin is worth nothing." Well, says who? There's people selling it for $70,000. So I disagree, and you don't have to agree. By the way, just the fact that something exists, you can decide not to be part of it, but you can't say it's not true, right? There was a time, again, go back to the Bitcoin standard, where people used to have shells, like so much value in there. And now, who cares if we would teleport ourselves in that time? You and me would be like, what am I going to do with this? This is worth nothing. But that was running an economy, right? So salt, another item, you can go and name so many different things. If I was king of a region or a country or whatever, or some land, I mean, would I want people to be fat, stupid, and broke, or healthy, fit, and rich? I mean, it's pretty obvious the answer.
and it can go so much worse. I think the Netflix CEO came out saying that their worst competitor or the biggest competitor is sleep, something like that. I remember that quote from an article. He was saying how he wants people to watch his show. The shows that the goal here is to make Netflix as addictive as possible, so people get rid of their other more important things like sleep. They forget to eat, right? That's the goal here. We live in an economy that's fully just based on bringing future consumption to the present or being entertained. I think Canada's global economy, or Canada's GDP, is something like 40% reliant on real estate, which is just crazy to me. That's why politicians keep trying to pump prices. That's why I mean, I get it. Zoning regulations, of course, they're important in some cases, but not always. It shouldn't take something like 2 years to process applications to build houses. That's intentional. It's a roadblock that's created intentionally. It's because so many politicians own real estate, right? They know for a fact that if they make those roadblocks, the value of their property is going to go up. And again, this isn't even a guess. I know there was another article that said something like 40% of, no, something like 60% of Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, his cabinet is a real estate agent or a landlord, a real estate owner, real estate investor. So, of course, they have this bias. Of course, they're going to want to increase the price of real estate forever, right? I mean, it makes sense to keep doing that. It makes sense to put the effort in to make that happen. And again, back to what you were saying, keep people fat, dumb, and broke. It's a business.
Time is becoming a currency, like we were saying in the beginning, where you want people. I was reading some statistics. I don't remember the numbers, so I'm not going to butcher it, but it was crazy. Like there is a service in the UAE who basically at the checkout of any product allow you to break the cost in 10 installments. For example, let's say You want to buy whatever it is, it costs $200. You can, hey, don't worry, you don't have to pay $200 now. You can pay it in 15 installments or 20 installments. The amount of sales has gone bananas because basically people are saying, I can afford anything. Like I can go anywhere I want and I can buy stuff I don't even need, by the way, because that's the old economy we are into today, like buying stuff I don't need, money I don't have. That's the old motto thing. Social media, you scroll your Instagram, 1 out of 3 photos in advertisement, and it's selling like hotcakes. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. I mean, it's a purpose. It was free. I remember when Instagram came out, and everyone say, well, it's free. There is no such thing as a free meal, they say. Nothing is ever free. There is always a catch. And your Gmail, your Instagram, your Facebook account, well, they're selling your data. So same with Netflix. As long as you know that you are exchanging time with your family, time with your wife. And I'm not saying don't watch Netflix. Nothing against Netflix, but as long as you know who you're swimming with, it's that will be my first thing, like awareness in general in life. I can be very much aware and do like a gambling move. I can invite you to the casino. We can go to Vegas and have fun, but it's contained, it's controlled. I know what I'm doing, which is the most difficult part because by definition, the casino makes money. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist. Like, if everyone goes to Vegas and comes home rich, well, then what is the casino business? It's no business, right? So it has to be extremely profitable. That means that the average person who goes to the casino leaves the casino with no money, meaning the casino is making money. Is there the exception? Yes. Can you go to Vegas and come back with $1 million? Yes. That's not the rule. That's the exception. Right? So when you question money, you're questioning in essence everything. And there is so many doors that you have to open after.
The way that I see Bitcoin is it's not a way to make profits. Bitcoin is money. My goal is to just accumulate as much money as I can. I'm using it as a savings account. So let's say if I need some extra cash, if I need some extra fiat, I'm going to sell some Bitcoin. If I have extra fiat, I'm going to buy Bitcoin. I don't really care about the other stuff. The price is, of course, relevant, but I mean, if I need $1,000, if somebody needs $1,000 and they have $1 million worth of Bitcoin, it doesn't really make a difference what the price is, right? If the price goes to $1 million and they have 1,000 Bitcoin, then it doesn't really matter. Over time, I think if you delay gratification for 4 or more years, you've pretty much set yourself up for something pretty big in the future. So I think the best thing is to go through the bear markets, build the resilience. See, the main thing that most people can't wrap their head around, main thing that most people can't seem to figure out is that with Bitcoin, you have an option to buy whatever you want at any point in the future. I think I don't know who said this, but they said something a lot. This isn't my quote. I'm not taking credit for it or anything like that, but they said something like Bitcoin is an indefinite call option on anything in the world. So you can essentially trade your Bitcoin for whatever you want at any point in the future. Your I mean, if you make that bet logically, I think it makes sense to accumulate as much Bitcoin as you can because Bitcoin has a finite supply while everything else can be created at will, right? We can have more apples, we can have more houses, we can have more water bottles, we can have more cars, but we can't have more Bitcoin past 21 million, right? So once you wrap your head around that fact, see, most people can't wrap their head around that fact because they think, oh, Satoshi Nakamoto is going to come out of nowhere and create more Bitcoin. But then again, you
Yeah.
have to understand the network. If you don't understand the network, you're not going to get that. You're not going to understand where 21 million comes from. If you don't understand where the 21 million comes from, then your whole thesis is just gone. It doesn't. None of it makes sense. I think it takes a long time to understand the whole thing. But once you understand the whole thing, it took me 3 years. I basically had to unlearn everything that I learned about the old financial system. So it took me some time. But once you can wrap your head around it, once you get it, there's nothing better. There is no second best, like Michael Cero says. There's no second best. There's nothing that can do what Bitcoin does because Bitcoin was organically grown. Everything else in the future is going to be rigged. There's going to be some central party. Pretty much every altcoin is just going to trend to zero forever, especially if they're trying to solve the money function. I had some conversations with people in my on Twitter And I engaged with them because I wanted to learn what their perspective is. And I realized that most people who are really pushing altcoins don't quite understand the trade-offs that those altcoins are making. So everything in life has opportunity costs, everything in life has trade-offs. There's always going to be a give, there's always going to be a push and a pull, a get and a give. You're not going to just get everything for free. You're not, there's nothing that can exist without trade-offs. So I've spoken to a lot of altcoin people. For example, there's one altcoin called Nano. So what these people say is that it's solved the blockchain trilemma. First of all, it's solved everything in terms of Bitcoin, or in terms of money. So it competes with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin doesn't compete anymore. So a lot of the people who are pushing these coins don't quite understand opportunity costs, which to me is very unfortunate because opportunity costs apply to everything. And once you do that deep dive into Bitcoin is when you understand that. That's when you really get why Bitcoin is intentionally slow, why Bitcoin is intentionally using a lot of energy, why Bitcoin's transaction fees are intentionally going to probably go up over the long term. It's because Bitcoin is it's a final settlement base layer. You can't compare it to Visa, you can't compare it to MasterCard. But again, if you don't do the deep dive, you're not going to see it this way. You're not going to get to this point.
I like to play with altcoins, like I said, but it's a very calculated move. And I'm super well aware that in 6 months or maybe even 5 years, whatever that might be, it could be gone forever. I realize there is a market. Bitcoin is not going to be the 100% of the market. There's going to be coins for gamers. There's going to be NFTs. There's going to be services built on Ethereum, on Solana. There's going to be a lot of things happening, I believe. But there is a difference in between Bitcoin and crypto. And those two things are very well separated, in my view. And I think you agree with me here. Then you can decide to go to the Las Vegas of crypto and just gamble. And yeah, maybe you can be lucky. Maybe you can buy the cat on the moon coin was going to do a 10x, and you can then sell your profit into Bitcoin. Yeah, why not? There is people, they try to exchange time and exchange emotions for anything these days, right? The time costing is super interesting because the most effective thing you can do so far that I've seen is just buy and hodl. That's it. I mean, people only see the ultimate result, especially on YouTube. You see the successful traders with Ferraris and Lamborghinis. Those are a product of most likely something else, affiliate links or whatever you want to name it. Can you make money with trading? Yes, of course you can. There is a lot of people, they make a lot of money. But again, that's not the average. That's the exception. The average is the poor dude who has $500, goes all in into an exchange, trades because the buddy on YouTube draws some lines and loses everything. What's interesting is I was talking to Peter Duncan on my podcast the other day, and he was saying, it's funny that smart people think they are dumb and dumb people think they are smart. So you find an asset you like because you studied it and you have conviction, and you buy as much as you can, and you don't even think about tomorrow. You go back in 10 years. Like, actually, if you and me would have bought Bitcoin 10 years ago, I would have forgotten about it. And 10 years later, we opened the box, time capsule. Oh, we have Bitcoins. We would have done extremely well. And I still think in 10 years from now, if you forget all the noise, forget all the crap, and quote, do nothing, which is extremely hard because in itself, the no action has a lot of actions in there. Because be able to, it's like, think about nothing. It's super hard, right? So it's fascinating to know, and speaking to people and experimenting. And the most valuable thing I can possibly do is like, just read a book, go out, swim, spend time with your wife, with your husband, with your dog, with your cat, with your friends, go to the pub, drink beer, whatever you want, drink coffee, drink tea, and just forget about it. Just stack sats, because I think in 10 years, you'll be very happy you've done it. But then at the same time, you read the headlines. Oh, Dogecoin millionaire, the guy who won the lottery, whatever it is, and they're all broke in 6 months anyway because they don't know how to manage money. Because there is even a statistic that says I think 80% of the lottery winners go broke in 6 months. Because imagine if you are someone who has never managed, not even a credit card, and all of a sudden you have millions, you're going to go and buy the most expensive cars. You will buy liabilities one next to the other. You will splash money for dinners. You'll buy worthless jewelry. You will buy brands. They don't give you returns. You're not going to go and invest into assets. You're basically going back and give all your wealth into society. So the old thing is, I often say to my friends, if there was an alien race who would come, and maybe there is, as far as I know, I don't know, I don't cross anything off my list. Looking at us, thinking, what the hell is going on with these guys, man? These people are crazy. I mean, whoever, I think there's a binary answer here, and one is whoever has created the old thing is a freaking genius, because it's just like unbelievable to witness.
They're making free money forever. They created this whole the legacy financial system. They created it, and now they get to reap the rewards for however long we stay asleep until we realize what it is. And like you said, they're a genius. They definitely are. I wanted to go back to the altcoins. As long as you understand that 99.999% of them are going to zero, I think that's the key. If you want to have fun, why not? Who cares? But see, the thing is that a lot of people genuinely think that all these other cryptocurrencies compete with Bitcoin. I think that's what shows me how foolish they really are. Right? Like if you have a coin that you're buying for fun, okay, that's fine. But nothing competes with Bitcoin as a global store of value that gives you final settlement. I think that's the key. Once you understand that, do whatever you need to with your money. I don't really care. But dismissing that fact is just ridiculous. I think that's the problem with a lot of people. I know you're not doing that, but I think that's the problem with a lot of people. They put all of their money in these altcoins like Nano or Caspa or whatever the other coins are. I don't know what their benefits are, but the thing is that I know for a fact that they don't solve the problem of money.
I think there's going to be some crypto that'll have a market, but when someone says, "Oh, this is the new Bitcoin," I laugh because that means they have understood literally nothing. Because I completely agree. We are talking about not even apple and pears. We're talking about rocks and grapes, like completely different things. Like, do we need rocks? Yes, we do need rocks. But do we need grapes? Yes. I mean, would you like to eat a rock or a grape? Okay, well, would you like to build a house with grapes or rocks? I mean, it depends on what it is that you have to do. Like if we're talking about money, and by the way, I think we are underestimating how little the supply. I don't think it's 21 million, not even close. Like
No.
it's way less than that. So the whole thing is built in such an interesting way. The amount is being lost, the amount people don't want to sell. People have gotten attached to their Bitcoins down to a level where they name them. So it's not 21 million.
That's what happens when you have self-sovereign money. If you don't take care of it, you don't get to blame someone else, right? When you have your money in a bank account, you can blame the bank. You can say, "Oh, I lost my password. Give me a new password." But the thing is with Bitcoin, when you want self-sovereignty, you can't blame someone else. You take that responsibility.
And this is why, if you are a Bitcoiner who has custody, you are telling a lot about yourself, about how you think, what kind of individual you are. So again, not to generalize, but and I'm not saying if you are a Bitcoiner you're superior. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is you probably see life through a different color. You said something earlier that once you understand, you cannot unsee it. I often say it's like seeing a new color. If I would show you a new color that nobody sees, then once you have it in your radar, you cannot take it away. So it's there everywhere because you see it now, but it's interesting. But you have to see it before you can say, oh, there it is. So it requires work. That's why proof of work works so well in this instance as well. You have to put the work before you understand how valuable this thing is. So it's all connected. It's all built so well. We touched slightly about ETFs, and I wonder what's your view on ETF, because technically ETFs have two sides of the coin, right? So one side of the coin is, well, not your keys, not your cheese, right? So it's not mine. Someone else has it. It's a promise. We go back to the same problem. But on the other hand, it's a vehicle for distribution, propagation. If you are a pension fund, for example, or a big company, well, they have the goods and they owe you a promise. So at some point, if I want to sell my ETF, they could say, hey, there you go, take some money, but they can keep the asset. And we don't even know. Like only one, by the way, which is Bitwise, has disclosed a Bitcoin address, which anyone can check. It's the only one.
I think the problem here is that I think we're assuming that BlackRock is in the business of manipulating markets. I think they're in the business of making money. Right? They don't care about I don't think they care about manipulating markets. I don't think they care about screwing over their clients. Why would they want to screw over their clients, right? Their clients are making money for them. So I think, if anything, BlackRock is going to pump the price up, right? They're not going to manipulate the market downward. They're going to buy as much as they can. If anything, they'll borrow money to buy more, right? Because they know for a fact that once they understand this asset at such a deep level, they have teams of people working on understanding this thing. They know for a fact that if they make the wrong move, let's say they dump this asset, they dump all 350,000 Bitcoin that their customers own, and some whale comes in and has $1 billion that they want to put, or $10 billion, $15 billion that they want to put into Bitcoin. They're never going to get that Bitcoin back. Let's say Bitcoin's price drops to $1 because they dumped so much. Bitcoin's price drops to $1. I'm going to go and buy as much as I can. What, wouldn't you buy as much as you can if Bitcoin dropped to $1?
I like to think that also. I like to think they care about their customer and all that. But if the ultimate goal is to make money, if five of the most powerful holder get together, they can make so much money. Because they can wick the market, and we won't even have time to do it. Like, it's going to happen so fast that we will be asleep, and we wake up and okay, we were at 60,000, we are at 60,000 again, and they made billions of dollars in the process, right? So, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, by the way. I'm not saying that, but equally also, whenever you have a company who mission is to make money, actually it's not an in-kind, right? So they don't owe the Bitcoin to their customers, they only owe cash. So they could say, you know what, no problem, I have it, I keep the goods, and I'll give you the rubbish, the fiat. So if you want to get out, I don't have to sell Bitcoin, I'll give you fiat because I have money coming from other ETFs or whatever sources they have. I mean, I'm not worried. I mean, I sleep well at night anyway because the Bitcoin I have are in my own hands, so I don't have any problems with it. But there could be one day where the new BlackRock CEO in 10 years could make a very stupid decision in a span of 2 seconds, and it could potentially cause issues, maybe. I don't know. So there's so many different opinions in the market. Some people, they adore the ETF. Some people actually are all in the ETF, by the way. They are Bitcoiner in the ETFs because it's convenient.
See, I think if they try to manipulate the markets, eventually they're going to get ruined. I think that's the key. No matter what happens, if they try to sell their customers Bitcoin, if they know that they're not going to have to pay their customers back, something is going to happen that's going to bring some kind of problems into this system. If they keep okay, so let's think of it this way. If they keep paying their customers back in fiat, it's going to break the fiat system. Eventually, let's say the fiat system breaks, some next president comes in, they appoint a new SEC chair, and they change the structure of the Bitcoin ETFs because Bitcoin is such a crazy asset that the only way for you to redeem your Bitcoin is to get it in kind. What if storage just becomes so easy? What if BlackRock is the one that builds another layer where they can help you to use your Bitcoin to make payments, right? And they have that massive amount, so they have the incentive. Then maybe they can charge you even bigger fees. I don't think that they want to break their business model, to be honest. I mean, they can, but the amount of Bitcoin that they have right now is so small compared to the total amount of assets that they have that it's not even worth it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's going to cost so much money to be able to have a position that can, quote, crash the market. So, and like you said, they are building a business, and the business is profitable because they charge a fee anyway. So they're making money and they keep the assets. So it's paradise. So why would you want to ruin something that is working? I agree. So
that's the perspective that I look at it from too. Yeah, why would you want to ruin something that's already working? They're already making 25 basis points. Why? I mean, if anything, maybe they'll increase their fees if they want to make more money. I don't think that they'll do that. I think they'll decrease their fees because Bitcoin is going to lead to a lot of competition. It's going to lead to more ETF producers around the world. ETF issuers, not producers, issuers around the world. And it's just going to lead to more and more competition. That's partly why Grayscale had to come out with their mini contract, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't have done that. They didn't do that for the last 10 years. Why would they do it? Why did they do it now? They did it because of the competition.
Yeah, and the more they make money, the more the asset is going to be valuable. So it becomes harder and harder to wanting to break it because it keeps going up in revenue. So and the asset, and by the way, they own the asset. I mean, actually, they have the best spot because they say, hey, It's in our hands. We owe it. So we have custody of it. It's going up in value. People want it.
I mean, they're not going to make it easy though. It's not like they're gonna. It's not like they're not going to manipulate the markets. Of course, they're going to try to manipulate markets. I think they'll. I don't think they'll do it with the actual Bitcoin. I think they'll do it with the future markets. I'm not sure exactly how that would work. I'm not sure how that would really impact Bitcoin's price. Maybe the fear that people see futures going down and people start selling their actual Bitcoin and then they accumulate. Maybe that's the way to go. But I don't really see them doing that. I don't think that's what a rational actor would do. Once you understand Bitcoin, I feel like the rational thing to do is just to accumulate.
At some point, there's going to be companies. I'm waiting for the day they'll go, okay, I'm going in, like Apple, for example, all those giants. They're going to say, you know what, now it's time to bend the knee, because after all, everyone wants to make money. And when they realize that the most beautiful money is Bitcoin, they want to be part of it. And as far as we know, they already have. I mean, the CEO of Apple has been vocal about Bitcoin already. I mean, they didn't say we are doing anything so far, but they will. The Apple Pay is going to have to integrate crypto at some point. And then once you open the crypto door, well, Bitcoin is there on the throne looking down. So I think in my mind it's inevitable. Well, Rajat, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming in and doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
It's been great. I appreciate you having me. It's been a pleasure.
Like I said in the beginning, in the comments down below, you'll find Rajat links. So make sure to follow him on Twitter and check his YouTube channel.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.